Another lesson in financing. I'm pleased to be with you. And today's subject is going to be, what is the difference between a credit report and a credit score? Now, a credit report and a credit score sound like they're the same thing, but they're actually two different products. They're two different things. They work together. So they do work together, but they are actually not the same thing. However, in order to get one, you need the other. So they do kind of work together, but I just wanted to make it clear that they're actually two different items here. So a lot of times I talk to people, I see people on YouTube, see people on social media, and I think there's just a little bit of a confusion about what exactly is a credit score versus a credit report. I've even asked people when I walk through them on a consultation, have you ever taken a look at your credit report? And they'll say something like, yeah, it's for, my credit score is 600. And like, well, that's okay, that's great, but that's not exactly what I'm asking about. The credit report is a little bit different. It's a little bit different of a product. It's a little bit different of information than what the credit score is. We're probably mostly used to hearing about a credit score. You can go onto like Credit Karma, you could go onto some of the other websites, and you can just really quickly download and get a credit score, maybe even like a FICO score of some sort. So there are different products out there online that you can receive that. However, a credit report is actually a little bit different, and it's more involved than just what a credit score is. If you ever need to look up your credit history and your credit profile. So essentially a credit report is a detailed record of your credit history. So a credit report is a detailed record of your credit history, which includes all of the accounts you've ever had, your entire payment history, and also public records that are going to show up, such as bankruptcies and collections. So a credit report is an overall report of your whole credit history. It's going to go down into fine detail of some of the accounts that you've ever taken in the past, accounts that you've had in the past. It's going to go into even places that you've lived. It's going to go into every actually name or alias that you've ever used in your past. So a credit report is very detailed. It's very detailed, and it shows a lot of the information that you may or may not even be aware that's on your financial history if you've never taken the time to download it and look at it and take a view of what actually is on your credit report. For example, I look at credit reports all the time. I have a lot of clients that come to me, and we spend some time on their credit report. We take a look at it. We go through it, and we want to make sure that it's actually up to the standard that they would like it to be. For example, one of the first things that's on your credit report is actually your name. And it's very common that your credit reports, the three bureaus, which are going to be Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian, they all have a credit report file on you. And so we need to take into consideration all three of them to get a whole profile that is going to take a look at your overall history of credit. Many times they have your name wrong. You may or may not be aware of this, but your name could be wrong or even spelled differently on three different reports. For example, let's just say your name is Jonathan Michael Smith. Jonathan Michael Smith. Okay, that's great. And then the next report might have John M. Smith, and then the next bureau might have Jonathan Mike Smith, or maybe just the initial, or even they may even have your names totally spelled wrong. So that's one of the items that is going to be listed on your credit report, and it's essential to know that every bureau has your name spelled correctly on each one, because there's a lot of people that have similar names, and if it gets mixed up, it'll cause damage to your credit profile or your credit score. Now, another thing that is on your credit report is going to be your addresses. Believe it or not, your entire history of every place you've ever lived usually shows up on your credit report. And if you have lived in a place like in a house, an apartment 5, 6, 7 years ago, you don't live there anymore, and it still shows up on your report, well, sometimes that address is associated with other accounts that may or may not be yours. So that is one of the things that is also shown on your credit report is old addresses. And so you want to take a look at that and make sure that there isn't anything that is contrary to where you actually live now. And we want to make sure that your current address is on there. Now, another thing that's on your credit report is going to be, like I said, any accounts that you've ever had, whether it's a car loan, mortgages. They're going to show maybe several different car loans that you've had in the past. It's going to show also maybe loans that you've taken out, whether it's a personal loan or a construction loan of any sort. Even a student loans show up on this. And so when we need to look at is make sure that it's all compliant or that it's all actually belongs to you. So your credit report is very detailed with all of this type of information. Not only that, on each one of these accounts that shows up on your credit report, it's going to show if you've been late or you've been negligent with any of these accounts. So if you've ever been late on any of these accounts, it's going to show up 30 days, 60 days, or even 90 days. And that's going to be a negative on your credit score, which we're going to get to that in a second. But if you have been on time and you've actually paid off your bills and you've been, establishing a good record of paying your history, a payment history on your accounts, that's going to show up too. So not just the bad, but the good is going to show up on your credit report. So it's going to give a history of all of the good reporting that is going to show up. Anything good that you've done in your finances as far as repaying any of these loans, they're going to show up as far as good, and that's going to be a good on your score. But if you have lates or delinquents, that's going to show up as well. So you kind of get the both. You get the good and you get the bad, and they all show up. And so it's going to be part of your credit report. Now, another thing that also shows up on your credit report is going to be, bankruptcies or collections. So if you've ever had a bankruptcy, and it's going to show up on your credit report, and it's going to have a detailed information, and that's going to be showing up on there, and it's a huge negative on your credit score. Again, we'll get to that. And then also, if you have any collections or charge-offs, that is going to also show up on your credit report. And so collections or charge-offs are going to show, and that will also bring down your credit score, because those are negative items that are on your credit report. So with that said, that's credit report 101 right there. That's going to be credit report 101, and that's going to just give you a round ball idea of what is on your credit report. With all that information, what happens from there is those numbers are, there's a formula, and I talked about it in one of my last videos earlier in the week. There's a formula that the bureaus gather up all this information regarding all of your credit history, and they calculate this, all the numbers, the good, the bad, and the ugly on your report, and it's going to come up with a credit score. And so this credit score is what we're probably most familiar with, and what the report determines your credit score. And your credit score is derived from the information that's on your credit report. And your credit score is actually used by other bureaus and loan agencies and credit card companies and mortgage as a prediction of how you will affect essentially or not pay back any money that they've borrowed. So if you have a good credit score, that means that it shows someone like another agency that you are responsible with your money, and that they have confidence that they can lend you money and that you're going to pay back, or you're going to uphold the contract that you've signed. If you have a low credit score, then that's going to do the exact opposite. it's going to reveal to a lender that you are not responsible with your money, and you cannot be trusted with someone or an agency giving you money for whatever need that you have, whether it's buying a car, maybe going to school, you need a loan for your business, or you need a loan for a home. So that's where that credit score comes in, and it's basically information regarding your credit report. It's going to get filed to a lender, such as a credit card company or a mortgage company, and that's going to determine whether you are a worthy candidate for them to lend you money. And so it's kind of works together, if that makes sense. So the credit report spits out a credit number. The credit number is used for pre-approvals or actually approvals for any institution that is willing to lend out money. Now, the crazy thing is there are a lot of institutions that want to lend out money because they can collect interest, and that's how they make the money. However, the better your credit score, then the lower the interest you can qualify for. The lower your credit score, most likely they might give you a loan, but it'll be with a higher interest because they're skeptical that you even are going to have the ability and the responsibility to pay them back according to the contract that you're going to sign. Because you have to remember that when you are going to go and apply for a loan, it actually is a contract and it falls under contract law. They have contracted and they're willing to lend you money, and on your side of the contract, you've signed the papers that you are going to pay them back according to the contract. And so if you neglect any part of your contract, then that's where you kind of get in a messy situation, because you may not be holding up your end of the deal, where they believe they're holding up their end of the deal. So it actually is a contract and falls under contract law. So when you sign your name on any type of loan, whether it's a car note, a lease, a mortgage company, a utility bill, you're actually signing that you are going to fulfill your end of the deal. And so that's where, that's why sometimes they can take you to collections, or they could take someone to court because you're not holding up your end of the deal. So it's very serious. But however, if you are in that situation where maybe you have some negative items in the past, maybe you fulfilled your collections, if you have any, but yet you still have these negative items that are still lingering on your credit report. Well, like all things, I mentioned this earlier in the week, everything is repairable, right? We can fix everything. Just like if your car breaks down, it can be fixed, right? If you have a check engine light, you take it to a mechanic, a good mechanic, they can fix it. If you have a fence that fall down on your yard, you can fix it, right? Everything's able to be fixed, and just like your credit report, we can fix that, and it can be fixed. So if you're in that situation where maybe you are struggling with trying to get some of these negative items, or some old accounts that are no longer existing, but yet they show up because there's some negative activity on there, we can fix that. We can get that cleared up. We can fix that. That's kind of what I do. And if you are interested, just go down and look below. I have some information on the links below. You can contact me. You can look at my website. You can download a free ebook. I have a free ebook that you can download, which will give you basic information about what credit is. But in the long run, I just want to share that your credit profile is super important for you, for your family, for your future, because it's going to enable you to receive, it's going to give you buying power in the future. If you need to purchase a large item, a car, an automobile, a house, even checking into an apartment, if you need that buying power, good credit score is going to give you that buying power, because sometimes we can't wait. If you need to get a car because your previous car broke down and you need to go get a loan for an automobile, you can't wait months. You need to get that car now. So it's good to stay on top of your credit report. My personal opinion, I would say take a look at your credit report on a monthly basis. sometimes people might say, oh, take a look at it on a yearly basis, but in my opinion, I would say there's no fraudulent activity, because there's a lot of fraudulent activity out there. There's a lot of people that are trying to scam people and, you know, get into their business. And, you know, that's happened to me. I've had someone come in to me and, you know, with my social security, and then they've kind of messed up my credit, and I've been able to fix it. But if you're in that situation, it can be fixed. So that's why I recommend that you would take a look at your credit report on a monthly basis, so that you are aware if there's any fishy activity going on, because it's going to affect you. A bad credit report is going to affect you on pretty much any major aspects of life, whether it's going to be, like I said, buying a car, getting a business started, getting a loan, going to college, or even renting an apartment. You know, if you've ever tried to rent a car, they're going to, you know, renting a car, they want to see a credit card. And if you can't qualify for that credit card, it's probably because of a credit score or your credit profile. So it's super important that you have all of these lined up, that your affairs are taken care of. And like I said, we can help you out. If you need help with that, go to my website and we can dial you in and get that repaired for you. But thank you so much for listening. If you've stayed this long, I really appreciate it. Like I said, this channel is young, but we're getting going. We got some movement going. I also have an Instagram channel if you like Instagram. And I thank you. And I thank you so much for listening. I hope you have a great day, and God bless. Bless.